What's up? It's Dixon, and you're watching Music Enthusiast.
Hi, I'm Sarah from the Music Enthusiast, and today I'm here with Dixon. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. It's such an honor to interview you. I think you're so dope.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I just wanted to say congrats on the release of Darling. I think it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think there are literally no skips. I could play it throughout, and yeah, so great.
That was the intent. That was the goal, to get it where people could just listen through it and, hopefully start it back over from the beginning once they finished it,
Definitely could tell you I did that many times. I personally love Yours. So what was it like working with India Sean again on this project, because she was also featured on the last project that you made?
Yeah, working with India is always fun. It's a breeze because we're actually really good friends we bounce ideas off of each other all the time. And to be able to invite her into this new space, being a newly signed artist, and, she's also newly signed as well. It's just really cool to see the forward progression of both of our careers. And I knew that she would be a perfect fit for that song. She's an incredible songwriter herself, so she can tell a story just as great as anybody else can. So I was honored to be able to be in that space with her and share that moment for me. Hopefully we'll continue to make more records. We have a really, really dope visual for the song that hasn't been released yet. So I'm excited for people to see that. So not only did we get to record, but we were able to shoot a video for it in the middle of a pandemic. So, that's pretty cool to be able to do work with your friends, for sure.
Yeah. And what was the process like shooting a video in the pandemic? Because that's different, obviously.
Well, yeah, it's just very weird having to socially distance and not being able to, I guess I didn't feel as close to the process as I normally would working on a visual. But it was actually really cool to see how people had set up things in place to like work around keeping everybody safe and making everybody feel comfortable in that space. Obviously, Yours is a really, really, intimate song. So obviously me and India had to make sure we were, tested and make sure that nothing was up so that we could be, in each other's space. But yeah, it was really cool. I never thought that I would shoot a video during the pandemic, and I shot 3 videos during the pandemic. So we shot Cream during the pandemic, we shot Yours, and then we shot a visual for Darling. So yeah, it's really cool. I love how people are getting creative with how to do these visuals and make sure everybody is safe. It also keeps people at work, which is really important during these times for people to be able to have employment. So I was glad to be able to do it during this time and do it safely.
Yeah, for sure. And not only like music videos, people are doing like virtual shows and stuff.
Yeah.
So would you ever want to do a virtual show?
Yeah, I have plans to do a virtual show. I'm a very visual person. I care a lot about what things look like. Obviously, I care about what things sound like, but I just want to make sure that the timing is right. I want to make sure that the people that I want to be on the show can be available. Like, obviously, I would love to sing Yours live with India and maybe sing Ex Nihilo with her from my last project. So we just got to figure out ways to do it. And all of our schedules are just so busy. So getting the features, involved on the live performance is something that's really important to me, because I feel like people want to see us do the song together. It is a duet. So just trying to synchronize schedules. I don't live in LA. So, just trying to make sure like travel and all of that is a possibility. It's just a little difficult right now. But I was able to do some virtual shows. Like I did a show on MTV's socials where I just sang like a couple acoustic songs, and that was really cool to see people respond to that. So I'm sure whenever we're able to do this live virtual show, it's going to be dope.
Amazing. How many songs were originally written for the project compared to get it on to it?
You're the first person that's actually asked me that question.
Thank you.
So very, very good on you. I wrote a lot of songs for during the pandemic. Let me not say that they were specifically for Darling, but I wrote a shit ton of songs. So I would say when it came down to it, I think we originally might have had like 15 or 20 records that I thought might be a good fit for this body of work, and we landed on 7. That being said, I still have plans for those other records. A lot of those other records I still hold very close to my heart, but maybe they'll land up on the next project. So
is that usually how your creative process is? Like just creating a bunch of songs, and if they don't make it, maybe next time sort of thing?
I think this time it was like that. I think when I made Young, I was really hell bent on like making songs for the album. At the time, I didn't know I was capable of making like a 15 song record fully on my own. So everything that I made, I was like, that's going on the album, because I was just excited to make it. But I think with this, because I also write for other people, I don't tend to get in my own way in that regard when it comes to creating music. I just make what I think feels good in the moment. And, if it sticks, if it sits well next to another record, then that'll just become the body of work. I tend to think of my music as collections. So it's just, a stream of consciousness for this particular time in my life. And the next body of work will be that as well. I don't tend to think of it like projects and, trying to tell a narrative. I think if the songs are good and you A&R them well and you pick them well, then they'll tell the story that you want them to tell in that moment. And then, move on to the next body of work and tell a different story if you can, or tell part 2 of the same story.
Yeah.
So I've learned to not limit myself in that way when it comes to making music. It works for me. Now, for some people, there are people that can tell an incredible narrative over 15 songs, and I try my best. If I put that parameter on me too early in the creative process, then I may not get any work done. So
Awesome. What song was the easiest to make, and which song was the hardest to make?
Ooh, okay. Easiest song to make. Easiest song. Okay, I'll just base it off of what didn't require as many edits.
Okay.
So the interlude going into Yours, Forever, was a stream of consciousness that happened within a matter of a day. And I don't really feel like we made too many edits after I spent the whole day working on that record. So I would say that was possibly the easiest one. The hardest one, there were 3 songs on the album that were equally as hard to make.
Okay.
So Cream, the single, I just got on a kick where I was trying to edit it down to the elements of the song that mattered the most. So the original version of Cream felt a little busier. It didn't feel as like spacious as and roomy as it does right now. And I spent months just taking out elements. And my manager, who's probably gonna see this, was so frustrated. Everybody at the label was so frustrated because I had to get that one perfect. So that one was really hard. Rider with Anaya was really hard. It was hard because I had a different feature on it at first who backed out at the last minute. And also none of us liked the drums. Like the A&Rs, I didn't like them. My engineer was like, I don't know how I feel about these drums. And finally at the last minute, producer, we sent it to a bunch of producers to add drums. We took all my drums off of it. Finally, at the last minute, we got a producer that sent over some drums that we loved, and the record finally came together. And then Every Little Piece of My Heart was the first record that I made during the pandemic for this project. And I almost didn't put it on the album. So, and I almost didn't put it on the album because as a creative, I just thought Every Little Piece of My Heart was the first thing I made. It got me into the process of making the music for this project. So I was like, oh, I can get rid of that and nobody will feel any way about it. And my engineer, the week we were about to turn in the album, was like, you really need to go back and revisit Every Little Piece of My Heart. I did a new mix on it. I think you're going to love the mix. He said, it might be missing some elements for you, but he was like, you should take 6 or 7 hours and just figure out what's missing from it and add it in. And so he just kind of let me rock for, 6 hours and figure out what was missing. And now Every Little Piece of My Heart is like one of my favorite records that I've ever made. So that one was hard because I only had like a day to really figure it out if it was going to stay on the album or not. And also at the same time, we were shooting, so I was shooting like some documentary style footage while making the album. I've been shooting since I started, working on it. And there's a moment where I'm talking about getting rid of Rider and Every Little Piece of My Heart. I don't know what I was thinking, but there was a moment where I was talking about getting rid of that and I was going to replace it with a song that I was like giving myself a week to make. So that's what the whole documentary is about. It's really about the song that I was trying to make within a week, but also about the fact that I was trying to delete 2 songs on the project that I feel like would have been a drastic mistake if I had done that. Hindsight is 2020 though. So
the bridge in Cream is like, the song in general is so good, but Thank you. Bridge is full of like affirmations and beautiful sayings. So yeah. What was the lyrical process like? Did you just write them down, or?
I'm always about balance when it comes to lyrics. Like I think with a sexy song like Cream, you can't really get around the subject matter. But I think if you provide context I think for me, the thing is providing context for every piece of the record on Cream. So yeah, I might be talking, a little more reckless in the beginning of the record, but I think there's a reason why, right? There's a reason why I'm like, looking for this particular woman, right? There's a reason why. And I think once you make it to the bridge, you understand why. And I think once truth is one of those things that becomes addicting. Like, and if I'm saying you're the divine truth, then it would make sense why in verse 1, I'm like searching for it, right? So I think that's the process for me. I don't write things down that often. My process comes to me very quickly when a song speaks to me. So I just tend to have the record button ready and I write down, instead of writing it down, I just record it and then I edit from there. So we didn't really write down the lyrics to the album until it was time to turn in. We just kind of just made the things that felt good. And there would be some moments where I would write down like sections. Like I know on Heaven With You, verse 2, mm-hmm. I didn't have a verse 2 for the longest and was in the studio and I did write down verse 2. But that's the only thing. Like my assistant was like, do you have the lyrics of Heaven With You? And I sent him my note from my phone. He was like, this is only verse 2. And I was like, yeah, I didn't write down the rest of it. So I just like to flow. I think that's something that I've learned over the last, 5 or 6 years, just making music, that I work better when I remove certain constraints. And I feel like, as a songwriter, if the melody is good, you won't forget it. Mm-hmm. So there's no real need to, write. If the lyrics are good, you won't forget what you said. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't try to force myself in writing everything down because some things aren't worth remembering.
Yeah.
So like if I remember it, then I know it's going to stick. And I think that's been my process as a songwriter, especially over the last 5 years, is that I only record what sticks, and what doesn't stick, well, you'll never know about it,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have a fondest musical memory?
Yeah. I think a memory that I hold really dear is in 2019, or maybe early 2020, right before the pandemic, I got to see Stevie Wonder live.
Oh, wow.
In a much more intimate space than I feel like I would ever have experienced him. ever. We went to Dayton, Ohio, Dave Chappelle, right after the mass shooting in Dayton. Dave Chappelle did a benefit for the city, and Stevie Wonder was the headliner. And that whole weekend was just filled with musical memories because I got to see Stevie. It was the first time I got to go to Kanye's Sunday service. And so that's a fond memory for me because a lot of my friends were in that choir. And so I got to like hang with them and see Ye, you know, in his element in a very intimate way, like front row. You know how packed those things can get. So to be able to be there front row and see uh his musical process happen in real time, I thought that was super cool. And then to end the night with Stevie being the headliner. I also got to perform with Chance at this benefit too,
Oh, wow.
which was, so that weekend is probably one of my most fondest memories. That was a big deal for me to be around my heroes in a very intimate space like that.
Yeah, and like all in the same time too. That's crazy.
Yeah, like over a span of 2 days, Thundercat played that night. It was a wild experience. Tiana Taylor performed that night. Like, it was just cool to see these artists not feel the pressure of like an arena and just get up and sing the songs that they love. You know, to watch other comedians too get up and tell the jokes that they wouldn't, you know, be able to say on TV and, you know, in front of a crowd like that was just really there to bring peace and love to that community. It just felt like a really, really important moment. And so that was a huge musical memory for me.
Yeah, for sure. Now on to The Voice. What was that experience like? Was it nerve-wracking?
I think at first it was. I mean, it's very nervous to feel like the fate of your existence on the show lands on 4 chairs, you know, so that's a struggle in and of itself. But once I got over that, I think The Voice just became a training ground for me to understand what I wanted to be as an artist, how I wanted to connect with my fans. I think anybody who makes it as far as I did on The Voice should use that opportunity as a testing ground for how you want to handle your career go forward. I think for me, I always want to make sure that I'm connected to my fans. I don't want to disconnect from them in a way. I think I want to make music for the people that inspires them, that makes them feel good about themselves. And I think even in choosing the songs that I chose on The Voice, you know, I wasn't choosing like, you know, top 40 hits, you know, from that particular year. I was choosing things that I felt would put a smile on people's face. So I've always made music for the people. And so I think The Voice just kind of confirmed for me that that's what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. Also, like, you know, how could I complain about The Voice? I had Pharrell as a coach. You know, I got to interface and be very close to the judges every week and see them in passing. And, you know, I had a vocal coach for a span of 3 months, you know, so it was just all good things for me. You know, I got to be in LA, which was something that I had never been for, you know, a long period of time. So I take nothing but good memories from The Voice. That team over there is just really, really incredible. They know I love them too. I don't just say that for the interviews. Like, I still keep in touch with the people that were on the show with me as teammates and castmates, but also with like the production team as well. And it says a lot about a show when the production team can pretty much stay the same and you see all these people still working on the show, you know, now with mask on, but you see all these people and it's like, oh man, those names are still the same. You know, the vocal coach is still the same. That says a lot about the type of organization they're running over there. So I love that show. I tell them all the time, like, whenever you need me to come back to do anything, I will be there, you know, just because I really appreciate the opportunity that they gave me on that show.
Amazing. And again, like, what was it like working with Pharrell? Like, is there a tip that you still remember to this day that you use?
Man, I think Pharrell is one of the most incredible human beings, you know, in the world. And I think it's not a tip that he personally gave me. I think Pharrell leads by example. And this idea of humanity being the most important thing, that's the thing that sticks with me the most. I think watching how he interfaces with people and how well he treats them, how well he treated my family, meeting them for the first time, how well he's treated me coming to the studio and working with him, the opportunities that he's given me. I think Pharrell is a person that puts people first, and he's a very humble individual that thinks of himself second. I think everything that he does is to, is for the people. And I think that's something that I've taken with me just from, encountering him and working with him and working alongside him. I think he's a primary example of what a good human should be. And I appreciate him for that. I think it has taught me a lot about having compassion for people and giving people their flowers while they can smell them, and doing things for the community that goes beyond it being self-serving. So yeah, that's what I take from Pharrell. I mean, I also have tips from Pharrell, but that I feel like that's a very personal thing, and I don't want to put our business out there in the street. But I think being a good human is a thing that if you just watch Pharrell, you don't have to know him personally. If you just watch the things that he does, the things that he attaches himself to, I think there's a lot that can be learned from this guy for sure.
Totally agreed.
Yeah.
Like you said before, you also help other people make music. So what are the main differences between working on other people's music and working on yours?
I think for mine, I'll start with mine. I try my best, and we've talked about it a little bit, but I try my best not to get in my own way in the creative process. Whereas when I'm working with somebody else, I'm asking a lot of questions. I'm participating in conversations while the music's being made so that I can tailor make something for them that resonates with their lives and what they're going through or experiencing. And truth be told, I learned that from Pharrell too, because I came to do a session with him, and like he just asks a lot of important questions and gets to know the person and then create something special for them. And I think I learned that from being around him in a session once out in LA. And I take that into the studio. I have conversations. It doesn't matter how big the artist is either. Like, I think a big part of my process is having that initial conversation with them and getting to know the person. Because I feel like, especially when you start working at a higher level, you know like the enigma of a person, right? You know what their persona is, but these are real people that go through real shit in their lives, and getting to know them and then sitting down and crafting something is the difference. Like, I know myself, but there's moments where I have to get to know myself again in a very real way. And as you get older, as you go through things in life, you have to check in with yourself too. So I think the main difference is I try to jump into their creative process and jump into their minds, whereas I don't set those parameters and barriers for myself while I'm making things. I think it works. I think that's why you get a Darling, and that's very much a me thing. And then, like, working with Chance, you get me inside of the mind of Chance, right? You get me inside of the mind of a Bosco or anybody else that I've worked with. And I think that's why people, that's why I work so well with the people that I've worked with, because I've been able to just come in, understand what they're trying to do. And sometimes I push people too. Sometimes I push people out of their comfort zone and what they're used to doing based off of things that they tell me, though. So if somebody tells me I don't want to do the same thing that I did the last time, then I'm asking questions like, all right, well, where do you see yourself? What's going on in your world now, that's making you want to veer from the sound that you're used to making? And once they start giving me those artifacts, then I'm like, all right, well, let me go in and find the things that resonate with you, whether it's a sound or whether it's a vocal or a piano progression or whatever that is. I think that's what I feel like I'm good at. I think I when I work with other people, there's a huge sense of empathy and trying to feel and understand what their experience is, and then we go from there.
Awesome. Because like you said before, it's like you can't release music that's like someone else's music. It's under their name, so it's their music.
Mhm.
But I like
Yeah.
that.
You want them to feel comfortable in that space. Like you don't want the worst things that happen is when I always can tell when I haven't been a good listener in the music, because I can tell by the reaction of the person that I'm making things for. But the things that make people jump out of their seat and say, "Oh my God, play that back again. What lyric did you just say?" Like those come from having real conversations with people and getting to know them, as a person, and not just based off the research that you can find on Google,
Yeah, for sure.
or Instagram.
And like you said before, you worked with Chance the Rapper. What was it like working with him?
I mean, Chance is just an incredible creative. Like he's full of ideas, and so I think it works well for us to work with each other. Even his team, like everybody on his team is just super creative. So a studio session for us could be literally us not making music, but us talking about world events or talking about this sound that we're looking to find, and then we all break out and go discover the sound. So it's very easy working with Chance. He's a very musical person. Chance is an incredible rapper, but what I love about Chance is his singing voice. So I'm always trying to find things that challenge him vocally and make him want to be a better singer, because I think he is an incredible singer. I think Vic Mensa is a great singer. I love both of their voices. There's so much honesty in when they start singing things melodically. Like both of them are incredible rappers, but I think the honesty in their singing voice is just something that's really captivating. And they will tell you, should you ever interview them, that I am constantly trying to get them to sing, because I think they have so much to say when they rap, but we feel them so much when they sing these songs. And like the proof is in the pudding. Like if you look at Chance's Blessings Part 2, and when he starts singing Are You Ready for Your Blessing, you feel that much different than when he's rapping.
Mm-hmm.
And that says a lot about, and I'm a vocalist, so like those are the things that I'm listening for: the honesty, the truth in the vocal. I hear the honesty and the truth when he's rapping, but I think I'm trying to convince them to sing more, because I want them to hear how earnest and how truthful their singing voices are, and that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real.
Yeah.
And that is something that I've always encouraged them to do. And like on the Christmas album, I encouraged Chance to sing a lot more. And I'll never forget, I left the studio and I came back and they played me what he did the night before, and he was literally singing all these very complex runs. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, just sing, bro. Like, just sing and let the chips fall, where they may. And I think the song did really well for him. I think people were excited to hear him sing these songs, and that's what's cool about the job that I have, like outside of my own music, is that I get to challenge people to do things outside of their comfort zone and challenge them to hear themselves differently, and that's what makes it really fun.
Awesome. These are a few fun questions, but
Okay.
if you could live in a music video, which music video would it be?
If I could live within one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There is a video with Busta Rhymes and Janet Jackson. I can't remember the name of the song. I think it's called What's It Gonna Be? But it's basically like this silver metallic liquid world. And the first time I saw that video, I was just like, oh my God, that is where I want to be. It just looks so cool and futuristic. And if I had a close second, it would be the scene from Purple Rain where Prince is playing Purple Rain. I feel like I could live on that stage for the rest of my life. Just in that moment, there was so much happening in that scene too. Yeah, that's a close second for me. But the first one for sure is that Busta Rhymes video. Like, he was able to turn like little liquid water droplets to whole rooms, and like it was just so cool the way they shot that video. So I think Hype Williams made that video too, which, I mean, he's an incredible director. But yeah,
those good choices.
yeah.
Another one, if you could describe your music as an animal, which animal would it be?
Ooh. If I could describe my music as an animal, I think if I describe the music that we made for Darling, I would say that it might be a gazelle.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I have it right here.
Yeah, I was thinking a gazelle. Like, I think it can speed up very well, but still be graceful. You know, and it has a lot of strength and poise to it. But yeah, I was thinking either that or some kind of like panther or jaguar, you know, because I feel like those are very graceful animals, but they run very fast, you know. So
glad we were thinking the same thing on that question.
Yeah.
And last question, our music website focuses on up and coming artists. So do you have any favorites you want to share?
Up and coming artists? Yeah. I love this kid from Baton Rouge. He actually is one of the writers on Cream. His name is Michael Armstead, and it's so hard to describe the music that he makes because he's so versatile and so tapped in. I really love him. There's a kid, I don't know where he's from, but his name is Jawan, Jawan. I think he's really, really dope and has always been super dope. Up and comers, I guess in the R&B space, like female R&B, I love Ombre. I mean, we're label mates, so I'm a little biased, but before we were label mates, I loved her music. And I think as a songwriter, she's just really, really incredible. And I'm going to LA soon. I can't wait to link up with her and make some cool music. And then obviously India. I think India is slowly becoming our Diana Ross in a very real way. She's not afraid to do the storytelling. She's not afraid to get, dressed up. She's so versatile in the type of music that she can make. She can write an incredible folk song and then also give you some disco vibes. Sorry, that's so crazy that I said Michael Armstead's name and he literally just FaceTimed me. But I think she can do anything. I think she's malleable. She can morph into and shape into whatever she wants. And I think that's the mark of an artist. I think an artist that can see a future for themselves, and the future doesn't just look like one thing. It can shape and form into something new. I think those are the type of artists that have longevity. What if Beyonce stayed the same Beyonce from Destiny's Child and from her first solo project? She clearly saw a future for herself and created a path in the lane for herself. So I think these artists that I named, they definitely have a lot of staying power, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for letting me interview you. This is so great talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. You asked all the good questions.
Thank you.
So.